This is our clay bust part 2, hollowing out the head, neck, and shoulders. In this video, I'm going to show you how to hollow out the head, neck, and shoulders so that you can complete your bust. First, I'm going to draw a line halfway around the head. This is just a light line so that I can use it to cut. Now I'm going to cut my head in half using that guideline. There's no real right way to do this. You just want to kind of drag the knife carefully all the way across the head and try to cut it in half. Once it's split, you're going to draw a guideline. This guideline should be about a finger width or a thumb width thick. And this is going to show you where you're going to carve. So a finger or a thumb width thick, not a pinky. Pinky's too thin. I'm going to do this on the top and the bottom of the head. And you can use any tool to do this. Next, I'm going to take a medium loop tool or one of the large loop tools. I'm going to start carving out the inside of this head. So I want to keep the guideline part of it on the outside like nice and thick, but I really want to take some of the weight out of this clay. I'm going to keep all these little scraps and they can go back into the clay bag. So I want this to be kind of even thickness, about a finger or thumb width thick all the way around. Once I'm done, I'm going to take a little bit of water and I'm just going to smooth in all those rough bits. Anytime I'm making a clay piece, I just never want to have those little rough bits. Even if no one's going to see it, it just keeps it nice and like clean. This doesn't need to be perfect because it's on the inside of the head, so that's good enough. I'm going to take a large loop tool for this one. I could also use the medium loop tool, and I'm going to start smoothing out, carving out the inside of the bottom of the head next. I have the chin here and it goes down pretty deep, so I'm going to try to kind of cut deeper into just that section. My goal here is really to take out a lot of the weight because it's going to be sitting on the shoulders, which will also be hollow. And I don't want them to make the shoulders collapse because of the weight. So I'm going to take out a lot of this clay. This will also let it dry evenly and quicker so that I can fire it. Again, I'm going to smooth that in just a little bit so there's no sharp or like rough edges. Now I'm going to head to the bottom of the neck. And again, I'm going to draw that guideline. After I draw that, I'm going to start to carve in the inside of this, carve out the inside of this. And this part, I'm actually going to go all the way through. So I'm going to keep carving out the neck piece until it reaches the opening of the head that I just did. So you can see that hole goes all the way through. And I'm just going to clean it up a little bit. Smooth it in. Next, I'm going to move on to the shoulders. I'm going to do the exact same thing. These ones, I really want to make sure that I do not get my edge too thin. So it's better to have this edge as thick as your thumb because it needs to be able to hold up the weight of the head and the neck. I'm going to start carving out the inside, making sure I don't get too thin. And then with that one, I do want to smooth out kind of all the bottom and the inside. Now I'm going to make a small hole through the middle where my head and neck will go. And I'll smooth that in too. Next, I will just set them all up, and there should be a hole going all the way up into the head. The next thing that you're going to do is start to reattach your pieces. So I'm going to score both sides of the head. Then I will be adding some slip. Just to one side is fine. And then sticking them together, so pressing them together tightly. And then smoothing them in. I can smooth them in with my finger or with a modeling tool. I find that a modeling tool works a little bit better. And I'm going to do it in lots of different directions. I also find that moving kind of diagonally across that seam works well. So I'll go in one direction diagonally, and then I'll switch and go the other direction diagonally. So I'm almost making like a cross-hatched pattern in both directions, just really trying to get that all smoothed in, taking the clay from the top to the bottom and the bottom back up. If I have places where you can still see the seam, or I've maybe created kind of divots, I'm going to fill those in with a little bit of clay. So I'll roll a small coil anywhere you can still see that seam and smooth that in. You can also smooth it in a little bit more with a rubber rib. Next, you want to make sure that your shoulders are all nice and smoothed in, so using a little bit of water to do that as well. Now I'm going to attach the head to the shoulders. I'm going to trace where my neck was so that I know where to score. And then I'm going to score the top of the neck and where it's going to sit on the shoulders. I'll add a little bit of slip, press them together tightly, and then start to smooth it in. Again, I'm going to use a modeling tool to smooth this in. And just taking some of the extra clay from the neck and pulling it down into the neck, or into the shoulders. If I have places where there's like a gap or where you can really see that seam, I'm just going to add in a little bit of extra clay, a small coil or a little chunk of clay, and then smooth that piece in too. The goal is to make this all look like one seamless piece. To never have known that you would cut it into pieces. Now I've put it all back together, and I'm just going to sketch out lines halfway down my head for where my eyes will go, and then a light line halfway between that and my chin for where my nose will go, and then a small line for halfway between my nose and my chin for where my mouth will go.